The head of Wagner, Russia's private military group, has said that it has taken full control of the eastern part of Bakhmut. The group claims to have surrounded the city. It recently clashed with Russia's defense ministry, saying that its soldiers do not have enough ammunition. Russian forces have been trying to take control of Bakhmut for months now. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that his forces will continue fighting for the city. US officials have reviewed new intelligence received on the Nord Stream pipeline's blasts. It suggests that a pro-Ukrainian group carried out the attack. There is no evidence that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky or his top officials were involved. No conclusion has been reached on this matter. The US and NATO called the attacks an act of sabotage, while Russia blamed it on the West. However, neither side has produced any evidence. Around 1.28 million protesters took to the streets in France yesterday, the highest ever. People are protesting against pension reforms proposed by French President Emmanuel Macron. The government aims to raise the retirement age from 62 to 64 years before April. Police used water cannons and tear gas to disperse the crowd. Protesters responded by throwing rocks. Protests broke out in Georgia after the parliament gave initial backing to a controversial draft law. Protesters threw petrol bombs and stones at the police and were met with water cannons and tear gas. The bill would require any organization receiving more than 20% of their funding from overseas to register as foreign agents. The critics call the bill authoritarian. Georgia's president has sided with the protesters and said she will veto the bill if it comes to her. Demonstrations continue in the Peruvian capital of Lima. Police used tear gas to disperse hundreds of protesters. They took to the streets to call for President Dina Boluarte's resignation, closure of Congress, and changes to the constitution. Almost 48 people have died since the protests began in December 2022. Tensions flared when former President Pedro Castillo was ousted. He's currently serving an 18-month-long detention and being investigated on charges of rebellion and conspiracy. UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has announced a new plan to curb illegal migration. He said if you come here illegally, you can't claim asylum, you can't make spurious human rights claims, and you can't stay. According to the new plan, those who illegally enter the UK will be detained and sent to either their home country or a safe third country. The bill will give illegal migrants limited grounds for appeal. Italy has strongly rejected claims that its policies to discourage illegal migration played a role in a recent shipwreck in which over 72 people were killed. The Interior Minister said that accusations that the rescue was prevented by the government constitute a series of falsehoods. The boat reportedly set out from Turkey. It had about 180 people on board. 80 people survived the shipwreck. The victims include a 3-year-old child. The Italian Coast Guard claimed that the rescue operation was too late. Iran has said that attempts by Western countries to stop its defense development have failed. The country's defense minister said that Iran is working on a ballistic missile with a range of 2,000 kilometers. He added that considerable progress has been made in submarine and drone development. An Iranian general had earlier said that the country can produce ballistic missiles capable of destroying fast-moving marine targets. China has called the allegations of interference in Canada's elections ridiculous. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson said that the country has no interest and will not interfere in Canada's internal matters. This comes after Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said alleged election interference by China will be probed. For this, Trudeau will appoint an independent special investigator. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has said that he will visit the United States after his India trip this week. According to reports, Albanese will sign a pact to build a fleet of nuclear submarines during his US trip. The deal will be signed between the US, Australia and the UK, who together form AUKUS. The signing ceremony is expected to be held on Monday. The US State Department spokesperson Ned Price has said that assistance has been provided to families of 4 Americans who were kidnapped in Mexico. He added that the task forward is to ensure that justice is done. 4 Americans were kidnapped by gunmen after they drove into Mexico. 2 of them were killed and the other 2 survived and made it back to the US. 5 women have sued the US state of Texas. They claim that they were denied abortion despite grave risks to their lives. The lawsuit asked the state court to clarify that doctors will not be prosecuted for providing abortions if they think the procedure is necessary. Texas has banned most abortions, but it allows exceptions when a doctor finds medical emergency. However, the lawsuit says that the abortion law in the state is unclear, leading doctors to refuse to perform abortions. Pakistan has banned all kinds of protests, demonstrations and sit-ins in Lahore for 7 days. Authorities have cited quote-unquote overall security situation in the wake of the recent wave of terrorism and threat alerts. Section 144 has been imposed. This comes as Pakistan's Tehreek-e-Insaf announced a rally in Lahore. Reports say that PTI workers were taken into custody for violating Section 144. At least 17 people have been killed in a massive explosion at a commercial building in Bangladesh's capital, Dhaka. Many others have been injured in the incident. Authorities say that the cause of the blast is not known yet, but it may have been a gas explosion. Firefighters and emergency responders are carrying out search and rescue operations. This week, another suspected gas explosion was reported in Dhaka, in which 3 people were killed. People in the Philippines say that local tourism has been hit hard due to the oil spill. People working in the tourism sector say that tourists who had made bookings for the summer season are cancelling their plans. This comes after MT Princess Empress, carrying about 800,000 litres of industrial fuel, sank. Officials announced a ban on fishing and swimming in the coastal town of Pola. Experts say that the oil spill could harm the marine biodiversity for years. Almost 4 million people in Somalia have been forced to flee after 5 failed rainy seasons and an ongoing conflict. Tens of thousands of people have sought refuge in cities like Mogadishu and Baidoa. People say that returning home is not an option as they no longer have their farms and animals to survive. Experts say that all of Somalia is affected by climate change. According to the UN, rural families in Kenya are falling deeper into poverty and hunger as the country faces the worst drought in its history. Women are forced to leave agriculture and engage in grueling labor to keep their children fed. Nearly 1 million children in the country are under the age of 5. Pregnant and breastfeeding women in the country are acutely malnourished. Britain's top weather forecasters say that extreme rainfall events could become 4 times more frequent by the year 2080 if climate change continues. The intensity of extreme downpours could increase by 5 to 15% for every degree of regional warming. Experts have warned that a hotter planet will be more prone to natural disasters. Higher temperatures create more extreme rainfall because warmer air holds more moisture. A police officer in California held up a sign reading "Free Snow." This comes as a town in California received approximately 16 feet of snow in the last 2 weeks. Record snowfall and freezing temperatures have left many stranded. The heavy snowfall combined with high gusts of wind prompted avalanche warnings in parts of Sierra Nevada. Chile has launched a program to protect an endangered southern deer. The plan is to create a biological corridor that includes more than 230,000 acres of land. This land has been donated by a foundation to promote the conservation of the ecosystem and natural diversity. Healthcare giant Johnson & Johnson is cutting more than 350 jobs in the San Francisco Bay Area in the US. This is part of a restructuring that reportedly could shave 1,000 people from Johnson & Johnson's workforce. Earlier this year, the company started cutting jobs in its drug and vaccine. Now it's making cuts in the robots and medical devices units. Elon Musk said Twitter was recovering financially after seeing a 50% decline in ad revenue. This was one of Musk's first public disclosures about the state of the social media company since he acquired it last year. Musk spoke at a conference hosted by Morgan Stanley in San Francisco on Tuesday. He said that he has slashed $3 billion from Twitter's operational expenses. WeWork Inc. is in talks with investors to restructure its outstanding debt of more than $3 billion. It also seeks to raise more money. Shares of the company rose by about 5% in extended trading following the news. WeWork had enjoyed a pandemic-driven shift to flexible work outside traditional offices. It is now gearing up for a potential fallout from likely economic downturn. China will set up a new financial watchdog to replace its banking and insurance regulators. The decision has been taken as part of an overhaul of state institutions. This is after concern about China's creaking property market. The new body does not have an official name yet. It will bring oversight of China's financial system under the direct control of the State Council. The EU executive is considering a target that would see 40% of the bloc's clean tech made in Europe by the end of the decade. The decision is part of a response to a wave of subsidies from the US and China. To achieve the 40% target by the end of the decade, the EU executive wants to speed up planning permission for plants manufacturing net zero technologies. New seismic survey technology from geothermal prospecting will be tested in Indonesia. The new tech will make it easier to determine the best places to drill wells. The technology has been developed by geoflow imaging. It is adapted from principles established in shale formation stimulation monitoring. UK news outlets Daily Mirror and The Express have published their first articles written using artificial intelligence. Jim Mullen, the chief executive of Reach, has said that the company let a bot produce 3 articles last week. The articles were published on the local news site inyourarea.co.uk. Last month, BuzzFeed said it would start working with OpenAI to help produce its quizzes. Facebook head Tom Allison has said that the platform is testing bringing messaging capabilities back to the Facebook app. According to Allison, users will now be able to share content more easily without having to use the Messenger app. Facebook split off messaging features from its flagship social networking application nearly a decade ago. The move comes after Facebook revised its strategy last year amid concerns about a stagnant and aging user base. Users are finding TikTok's latest beauty filter eerily realistic, so much so that social media is abuzz with posts calling the new feature problematic. The new bold glamour filter on TikTok uses machine learning technology to automatically edit users' facial features. Leaks claim that Apple will yet again limit its high refresh rate and always-on display capabilities to the upcoming Pro model iPhones. The leak also claims that the LTPO 120Hz refresh screens will be limited to the 2 Pro models, the iPhone 15 Pro and the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Apple used the same approach on last year's iPhone 14 Pro and 14 Pro Max, as well as their predecessors. Chelsea have reached the Champions League quarterfinals after defeating German club Borussia Dortmund. They beat Borussia Dortmund 2-0 at Stamford Bridge on Tuesday. Raheem Sterling and Kai Havertz, with a twice-taken penalty, got the goals. The result relieved some of the pressure on manager Graham Potter. Chelsea had won just 3 of their previous 16 matches. They currently sit in the 10th place in the English Premier League. The Arsenal women's football team have ended the longest trophy drought in their modern history. They defeated London rivals Chelsea 3-1 to win the English League Cup. This is their first trophy in 4 years. Arsenal's victory was a record 6th in the League Cup. Arsenal is the most successful club in the English Women's Football League. This year's World Tennis Conference will be organized virtually from March 30th to April 2nd. The conference is organized by the Global Professional Tennis Coaches Association. Tennis Champions Mind, Spirit, Body and Development Structure is set to be the conference's theme this year. The 4-day conference will feature 68 speakers from 28 countries. It aims to improve the level of understanding of coaches about player development. World Athletics has announced that it is renewing the Ukraine Solidarity Fund. It will also take several steps planned towards achieving gender equality. This is part of the We Grow Athletics campaign in celebration of International Women's Day. World Athletics distributed around $220,000 to more than 100 Ukrainian athletes in 2022. Red Bull jokes about the 2023 Aston Martin Formula One car have turned into an accusation, as advisor Helmut Marko is questioning the legality of the AMR 23. He accused Aston Martin of copying design ideas from the RB19 after their astounding performance at the Bahrain Grand Prix last weekend. He partly blamed former Red Bull head of aerodynamics Dan Fallows for the same. Steve Borthwick has cut George Ford from England's rugby squad. Marcus Smith and Owen Farrell are going head-to-head for the England number 10 jersey against France. Both have been retained in a trimmed-down squad. Owen Farrell is enlisting the help of Johnny Wilkinson to solve his goal-kicking troubles before the crucial Six Nations match on Saturday. Mumbai will host the 140th International Olympic Committee session in October. The decision to hold the session in India was taken by the IOC members during the last session held in Beijing last February. The IOC session will come back to India 40 years after the 86th edition, which took place in New Delhi in 1983. Delhi Capitals have secured their second win in as many matches at the Women's Premier League 2023. They beat UP Warriors by 42 runs at the D.Y. Patil Stadium on Tuesday. Skipper Meg Lanning emerged as the standout player from the Delhi camp as she smashed a 42-ball 70. Delhi piled a staggering tally of 211 on the board. Meanwhile, UP Warriors could only manage 169 in 20 overs. The European Olympic Committees has officially announced the inclusion of Muay Thai or Thai boxing at the European Games 2023. The Games will be held in Krakow, Poland. The EOC also remarked that Muay Thai is the fastest growing combat sport in terms of athletes and spectators. Muay Thai will be held from the 23rd to the 27th of June 2023. After days of hard-fought, down-to-the-wire negotiating, the New York Giants reached a new 4-year contract with quarterback Daniel Jones. The Giants have also put a franchise tag on running back Saquon Barkley. The deals came after Jones delivered a career season in leading the team back to the playoffs for the first time since 2016. The BBC is renewing Strike, a crime fiction series based on author J.K. Rowling's books. This comes amid a transphobia row. Rowling has received criticisms for her views on transgender rights, including from listeners on BBC's radio shows. The broadcaster apologized twice to Rowling about letting the accusations go unchallenged. The 6th season will be adapted from The Ink in Black Heart, that follows the life and death of a YouTube animator. American toy company Mattel levels up its digital content game ahead of launching its publishing imprint in 2024. Digital content like books, videos, and games are available for kids on its entertainment app Caribou. The yet untitled imprint will have print and digital titles across formats like storybooks, audiobooks, and guides. Students at the University of Massachusetts were hospitalized after taking part in the Borg trend. The TikTok trend that involves drinking from plastic gallon containers has over 82 million views. The concoction is made by filling plastic gallon containers with alcohol, water, and electrolytes. 28 ambulances as well as emergency vehicles from neighboring towns had to be rushed in. Adidas is weighing its options on apparel and shoes under Kanye West's collaboration. The sportswear giant halted collaboration with Ye post his anti-Semitic comments last October. Not selling the stock could cost the brand a revenue loss of about 1.2 billion euros. If the brand fails to find buyers, it might end up burning the stock. Toronto-based Ukrainian World Congress expressed concerns over Gun Mavericks Oscar eligibility. The group's open letter to the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences comes on the heels of funding allegations by a Russian oligarch. Dmitry Rybolovlev, who allegedly financed the film partially, is on Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's sanctioned list. The Tom Cruise starrer is in the race for Best Picture and Original Song, among other categories at this year's Academy Awards. Ben Savage, star of the hit 90s sitcom Boy Meets World, plans to run for a U.S. House seat from California. The Democrat says he's running for Congress because it's time to restore faith in government. The 42-year-old pledges prioritizing safe communities and affordable housing. Hugh Jackman is consuming 8,000 calories a day to bulk up for Deadpool 3 that releases on November 8th. The 54-year-old actor is eating 6 meals a day that include black bass, Patagonia salmon, chicken burgers. Jackman admitted that training for Wolverine takes a toll on him as he does it the old school way and doesn't take steroids. Starting March 31st, streaming platform Disney Plus Hotstar will not carry HBO content. The news comes after HBO CEO Bob Iger announced cutting $5.5 billion in costs. There is no confirmation on where popular HBO shows like The Last of Us and Game of Thrones will be available for Indian viewers. Bollywood film Sui Dhaaga is set to release in China on March 31st after a delay of over 3 years. The 2018 hit film starring Varun Dhawan and Anushka Sharma was earlier slated for a December 2019 release in China. The film follows a tailor and embroiderer couple that chart their own entrepreneurial journey. A week-long Indian film festival showcasing films across romance and drama genres opens in Russia. With films like Devdas and Bajirao Mastani, the festival will travel to over 20 cities. Ranbir Kapoor's latest release, Tu Jhoothi Main Makkar, will also be premiered at the festival.